Hello, everyone, and welcome to This Is Why We Fight. I'm Jo.
And I'm Jordan.
Hello. I was just chuckling watching that, 'cause that little bit with the turtle having its bum scratched with a toothbrush. I know it's your favourite part of that video. It just made me chuckle.
It's
Anyway,
fun.
Good evening.
There's an
Yes.
incredible amount of fun to watch a tortoise scratch its own backside.
It was just adorable. But good evening, everyone, and good evening to you, Jordan. I hope everyone is well.
Indeed. As do I.
Okay.
Smooth intro.
So,
Well done.
Yes. As promised, we're going to have a live discussion tonight because we think this is rather important, given what's going on, and it's something that you guys wanted to talk about in a live show. So here we are, and this is what we're going to do. So,
Jo has been
very good evening.
taken hostage, as you can tell. He's
What?
an unwilling participant in this.
I'm just reading out the card. There's a gun pointed at my head right now, and it's saying,
They didn't even call auto cue. Bloody hell. Hostage takers, these awful.
No, there's a card. Budget cuts. So anyway, yes, welcome everyone. Can I just say a quick thank you to Sir Francis? Great suggestions for tomorrow's show. Much appreciated. And let's say a few good evenings before we start, shall we? So we've got Sir Francis, who I've just mentioned. We've got English Will with the cutesy Pikachu. I love that so much. We've got Andrew beating his chest. Crack on. Yeah, that's what he's saying. Get on with the show. Roy Bob is here. Who else is here? Just scrolling down now. We've got Cass. Hello and good evening. Welcome from DLive. Tash is here. Good evening, Tash. Good evening, Jonathan. Who else is here? Let's have a look. We've got Rob D. Good evening to you. Yes, tidy, sir. Romewood is here. Thank you for joining us. Daffod is here, lurking. Okay, thank you, everyone who's joined us already. So we're going to be talking about, is it a revolution? Jordan,
It's one that we need to have. That's what I think. What this stems from, Trey, is my general frustration at my absolute inability to what's the word I'm looking for? To get a start off, basically.
Can I ask you to just repeat that? It sounded like robot. You just... Well,
to be fair, that may have been my brain breaking.
Okay. Just never mind then. Carry on. You're doing great.
This is... Thank you. Don't pity me. This is stemmed from my frustration of being unable to get to where I want to get to. And I think this is something that a lot of people are going to feel as well.
Yes. Oh, Rob D. Look, the sarcasm's out already.
I don't disagree. What I can do, I can run. Jo, carry the show.
This is a little teaser, you see. We're all being replaced by AI. Well, Jordan is, in fact, not human. And this is the proof. He robots so often, I'm starting to doubt it myself. And I have seen him. But honestly, I'm beginning to think it's some kind of AI graphics at this point.
It's very, very clever AI.
So anyway, yes.
You hold this. You hold this. I'm going to flick my internet over. 1 moment.
Okay. So yes, this comes back to frustration. We have all, I hope, well, not I hope, that's awful. We have all, I suspect, found issues since lockdown began, way back when, last year. Well, we've been forced to look at the decisions we've made in life, the choices we've made, the skills we've learned, or those we haven't, and basically all of the opportunities that we may have missed or allowed to pass us by, and how we're going to get on with the quote-unquote new normal. And I think for many of us, I suspect for many of us, we're wondering now how we can make things work for ourselves, given this current situation that we find ourselves in.
Exactly, which is why we started things like the industry overviews.
Yes.
It's why Andrew has been absolutely fantastic at cracking these out in the way that he has been.
Yes.
We need to find ways to support ourselves, and this is something that is genuinely frustrating for me, because I do try and come up with little things to do, but I always run into the same roadblock, and I have a feeling a lot of other people run into the same roadblock as well.
And do
Because
mention what that roadblock is, because it's almost the same one every time, isn't it?
I was literally just getting that.
Oh, do it. Just do it then.
Do you know what? Fight me. I'm done with you today.
Wow. That's so hostile.
It's lack of room combined with the extreme cost of renting a space. It is so damn expensive to rent any sort of warehouse setup. Just any sort of garage, anything along those lines. It's so damn expensive. You basically have to have a garage in your home, or a large shed or something along those lines, in order to get any sort of start, as far as I can tell. Because around me, the prices of warehousing and what have you is just insane. I am burdened by the fact I live very close to London, so it's a problem.
Can I just mention this comment from Roy Bob? He mentions tax. The other things we were going to mention was, okay, I'll let you carry on then. Sorry, continue, please.
No, please carry on. I was getting on to that later on.
I was just going to say the other obvious recurring issues are taxes, yes, rates, rent, space, red tape, and bureaucracy. We don't have the freedom and the space to run businesses from our homes, because there's all kinds of limitations on doing that. So landlords prevent you from running business from your home, but they overcharge on business properties. You can't afford to run a business from there either, which of course equals you can't run a business, period.
Mm-hmm.
And this is very frustrating for all of us. We were talking about this after we finished the show the other night, actually, when we brought this up. And we were talking about the fact that if you look back through sort of old photographs, you'll see that almost every high street shop had a flat attached to it. So these weren't shops that people built with flats attached to them. These were homes that people turned into shops. Yeah, and essentially, exactly. they worked from home, but in a good way. They worked from home. They had a shop front to deal with the public, and they had whatever living quarters they needed, either at the back or upstairs, so they could raise a family. They could be on hand if something happened. It meant that they didn't have things like commuting to worry about or travel costs. It meant that the only traveling they'd probably have to do is go to their supplier, their wholesaler, depending on the kind of business they've got. But normally people would have deliveries come to them. So essentially everything that you needed to run a business was there on your doorstep, essentially. And it's almost the opposite now. The system is designed to not only keep us from doing these things, but to protect those who already do them from any further competition.
Mm-hmm. The thing that I found really interesting the other day was when you mentioned how private landlords don't allow you to run businesses from your home. And then that kind of got me thinking, because I knew that. I have a private landlord and I never thought about it. Just kind of like, okay, fine. It was when you said that it made me realise that, wait a minute, this has been pushed by estate agents. Because the same estate agents who rent out homes typically also rent out business properties. So it's within their interest to make sure that you aren't able to run a business out of your home. They're actually making double the money off of you, because then you have to have a shop, or you have to have a warehouse, so you have to have something.
Yeah,
even
and
just
it might
a
be the same personal company, but you're still paying twice, aren't you?
Exactly.
It's still them versus us. It's still, state red tape versus people just trying to get by. Andrew says it's almost as if they don't want people to start their own businesses. I know, it's a shocker, isn't it? Rob D says something. I do remember this. I don't know if everyone else does, and it depends where you lived, I guess. I remember half day closing every Wednesday afternoon. A lot of shops could afford to do this because they were just open all the time. Oh, there you go. Jonathan's confirmed. Still have that in his hometown.
I've never heard of that before. What was the logic behind it? Was it just people felt like it?
I don't know. I feel like it was some kind of English siesta. I don't actually know. Jonathan, as you have a shop that still does that, maybe you have a bit more information to share with regard to that. David says, if you're clever with the A3, A4, A5 planning, you can get places cheap. Like Pret only use cheap retail properties, i.e. no cooking, which needs a food license. If you can expand on that, David, that would be very interesting, I'm sure, for anyone who is looking to open a business.
That's great for shops. It must also be said, cheap doesn't exist around me. It's so expensive. The rates have now gone up to at least 1.0. So I should actually check on the council website to make sure, but I'm pretty damn certain I saw 52.3%, which is just absurd.
I think what we need to do is start looking further north and get away from the big multicultural metropolis that is London, and really focus on sort of rebuilding our manufacturing in the north of England, because that's where it was born, that's where it originated, and that's where it belongs.
To an extent, I agree, but there's no getting around the fact that not everyone lives up north.
No, I know, but I'm just talking about generally. That's where it should begin, because the obvious benefit of cheaper rent. I mean, yes, if you have to commute, you're probably not gaining anything. But there are ways around things. You can have business partners. You can go into business with someone else. You can maybe arrange to stay with someone midweek while you're working, go home at weekends. I don't know what the answer is, but I know that if you're looking to rent in the southeast, the rent and rates will absolutely cripple any business before it gets off the ground.
Mm-hmm. David does go on to say, and he's completely right about this, the rateable value is 12 grand. So anything under 12 grand, you're not paying rates on.
Right, so there you go. So that's something to look out for. A couple of other comments. Roy Bob says Casimir to destroy. I don't know what Casimir is, like where it stems from, but thank you for sharing that. Snuffkin says, I like buying homemade stuff from eBay to get around the system. Yeah, we've really done nothing but encourage people to make things themselves, to sell them online or in public. So yes, thank you for doing that. Starving the beast.
But that's why I bring this up, because I would like homemade stuff, but not everything can be made out of a kitchen. Things true. Like, for example, like the barbecue, for example. That's not possible to make that in your kitchen. Or any sort of, let's say like electronics isn't possible. It possibly is. It depends. But any sort of large scale project, doing that in a living room or a kitchen's somewhat unrealistic for a lot of people.
Yeah, I know you're anti-health and safety, but there are limits to what you can do in your kitchen.
Well, it's not just health and safety. You do also still have to have a life.
Yeah, it's
I've turned my living room into a warehouse. Fine, that's that. But that's the one room taken up. A lot of people wouldn't do that. Like, you basically can't enter into the living room. It is just stacked with stuff. Jo has seen it plenty of times. She backed me up on this. It is. Well, you saw the shed today as well, Jo. Describe the state of my shed.
Stacked to bursting. But of course, Jordan, being an AI bot, he doesn't care about living spaces.
And 1 minute, when you say stacked, it's not a normal shed either, is it?
No, it's quite a large space. It's just, it's not even like there's lots of stuff in there. It's floor to ceiling, full.
I've been telling you for months, it's full. I can't get anything in there. And you're like, why don't you just move it around?
Yeah, just take it out and pack it back in.
Yeah, that was your suggestion. They ain't bloody out. Although I will be taking stuff out soon, hopefully.
42 says, by the way, just to answer your question, you've got a half day off on Wednesday because shop workers had to work on a Saturday. So that may or may not be correct, but it does make sense. So that's probably right. Good evening, Made in Cornwall. My Michael Pagan says, at this point, the UK is a huge warehouse. I do feel that if anyone has been looking for work or has just looked at jobs available recently, retail and warehouse seem to be the only jobs going, unless you have specific skills.
There's care home stuff and all.
Yeah, but even that, it's like 0 hours.
I
You get
keep
called
getting
when you
offered
get
a job
called.
from the NHS and all, which is hilarious. I'm not taking that. I don't trust you people at all.
Good evening, Philomena. Very good to see you. A few people worried about you because you're a bit late arriving. Hope you are well, my dear. Snufkin says, I drank 4 pints of local beer in a local pub this week to help my country. Good on you.
That's how to
Daffyd says, rateable value is recalculated every 6 years. When was it last done? Does anyone know? Oh, it doesn't matter. It's not like any...
Is it a bit like council tax? So is it a bit like council tax where council tax hasn't been reevaluated since the early 90s because they can't afford to do it?
That's amazing. Wish they could afford to abolish it.
No. What I mean, when I say they can't afford to do it, what I mean is if they do that, no one will be able to afford it.
Oh, right.
It's gone up so much.
Do you know, I seem to have a vague recollection of a big scandal involving poll tax. Obviously, this is not council tax. Some pensioner got arrested because they couldn't pay their poll tax. Does this ring a bell for anyone? They actually put them in prison.
I was -3 during this stage, so no.
I'll leave the chat to think on that one. Jonathan says it's because shopkeepers could go banks and wholesalers. We still have some shops that close at 3 or 4 on a Saturday too. Oh, fair enough. I still think both of those answers could be correct, to be fair. Rob D says banks and estate agents became wise to the feminist movement. When more women went to work, then it became a requirement for 2 times incomes to be able to afford repayments on a mortgage. Mortgage payments are going to go through the roof, according to the prophecy coming out now, reports coming out now. So just be warned, everyone, if you've got a mortgage, I don't know what to say. I feel terribly sorry for people who were just keeping their heads above water. I've got a feeling that what they've got planned now is going to really, really hurt people financially.
Mm-hmm.
Roy Bob says buying alcohol is throwing money at the government. Yes, but if we're helping small businesses, I don't know. I'm kind of on the fence with that.
Has Joe broken?
No, I'm just checking through the chat. Karen, thank you for joining us, Karen. Says tin beans seem to be short in shops. Anyone else notice?
I haven't noticed tin beans. I have noticed milk. Milk out of Tesco, at least my Tesco, is hard to come by.
Well, it's because they keep destroying gallons of it, don't they? Maybe they should stop. Roy Bob says, no, the UK is a donkey farm, except real donkeys are beautiful. Okay. Rob D says the poll tax was a good idea in principle. Everyone pays. I'd rather no one pay, Rob. I'm definitely small government.
I think this is one of those prime examples where you can't say the government is incompetent. They have to be doing this deliberately because it's just common sense. If you charge 20,000, for example, on a shop, then that's the rates that you're taking in. It's a large shop, whatever. That there is basically a wage. Surely you would rather that shop employ another person than take 20 grand off of them to do whatever council nonsense you need to do. Especially when the owner of that shop is then just going to work out how much more he needs to add on to every item in order to pay the rates.
Yeah.
So the average person then starts paying a bit more. The average person is then a bit poorer. The average person then has to turn to local government and say, I need help because I can't afford this. And then the local council say, oh, well, we can't afford, we need to increase our budget. So what are we going to do? We're going to increase rates. We're going to increase council tax to pay for everything. And then even more people can't afford to pay for it. This has to be deliberate because everybody with a functioning brain cell who isn't Jeremy Corbyn can see this.
And Diane Abbott.
Yeah, probably.
Well, let's be honest. We said this earlier. People who still make excuses for the government, these people are either incompetent or they're evil. Either way, you should not be listening to them because there is something wrong. This is a cycle of, it's a Ponzi scheme. Whatever you do, you pay more.
It is a Ponzi scheme. But pretty much by definition, it is a Ponzi scheme. You're paying money in, hoping to get more money out.
Yeah. Yeah, I know that you've got to speculate to accumulate, but you're not making any actual money because it comes back that you're paying more to get more. It's a never-ending risk. Can I just mention this from Will? He says, everyone take advantage of the lockdown loosening if you can. It will give struggling shopkeepers and publicans hope. Whatever we feel about the media propaganda that we've heard over the last God knows how long now, these small businesses are struggling and we do need to support them where we can. David says, no, every 6 years they reevaluate based, they say, on supposed rentable value. Well, pushing the price of rents up is obviously keeping people like us down. This really is some kind of a protection racket. The people who have will always hold down the have-nots.
Mm-hmm. This is why the likes of Amazon are so incredibly dangerous.
Yeah.
It's because it is to their advantage to make sure that smaller shops can't open. And it's also to the likes of Tesco's advantage to make sure they can't. So they all then get together, they start lobbying the government, and they start making sure things are passed that makes it harder for the average shop owner. And suddenly, one by one, they start shutting down.
Unlike all monopolies, what they'll be able to do when that happens completely, and we know it's coming, is they'll be able to increase prices and lower quality, and you won't have any choice in the matter because there will simply be no competition. There will be no other alternatives for you.
A prime example of this is B&Q. Definitely my favourite subject of Aragon. It is an abysmal shop that basically have nothing. I recently went in there to buy some plywood and the price of it is just ridiculous. I bought a sheet, or not plywood, sorry, MDF is what I bought, which is basically just sawdust that had been glued together. I bought a sheet of, I think it was like 1 by 1.10 meters or something, whatever. It's very small and it cost about £7.5 for what is effectively just some scrap wood that they've glued together in a factory somewhere. In Finland, actually, that was the thing. It comes from Finland, or at least it was from a Finnish company.
Wow.
The Finnish MDF company, or whatever the hell it was called. It was stamped on it. Never noticed that before. There's how is there nobody in this country doing that sort of thing?
Of course there are, but they're being shut down, aren't they? They're being suppressed.
Do you know? I don't know if they are. To be honest, I've looked around. I can't find one.
But what about the damn carbon footprint?
Well, that doesn't count. That you can just offset. Just magically, you can just continuously offset it.
Oh, I see. It only matters when certain people are abusing it, right?
Pretty much.
David says, big push for homemade wine this autumn.
Yes.
I happen to know someone with a bit of a green thumb who makes his own mead. If you want any tips, you know who to ask. Might be someone called Jonathan in the chat. Made in Cornwall says, houses in Cornwall are being brought without being viewed, and people are offering 10,000 above asking price at the moment. It's a good time to have money, I suppose. I love your name, Zhao Wong, but I'm not reading it out. Small government or large is irrelevant. It needs only be nationalist and efficient. I don't agree with that.
There's no such thing as an efficient government.
I don't agree with large government.
Government is inherently wasteful.
Yeah, any large government is bad for the individual, and it's bad for individual communities. So I don't agree. Sorry. Jonathan says house prices will drop by 14% in the next year, but your mortgages will still keep going. This is their plan to take away your home. You own nothing and be happy. Oh, yes, we remember that phrase, don't we? What a catchy little number that was. Yes, house prices will drop, mortgages will rise. We haven't gone into a negative interest yet, which I'm surprised at. So I
don't know if they
that's
want not negative interest, because if you think about it, if it goes into negative interest, then they're going to start losing money as well. I never really know how I feel about that.
Well, negative
which way they're
interest
gonna
means
push
that
it.
you'll be paying money on your savings.
You'll be paying money on savings, true, but you'll also have. Well, I suppose they just keep the mortgage rates at zero, won't they?
Andrew says,
Whatever they
agorism.
do, they'll always come out on top because it's their system. They built it.
Yeah, they built it for them, not for us. Andrew says, agorism is the way forward. Agorism, I'm not sure how you pronounce that.
Agorism.
Decentralized economy, buying the things we need from each other, ideally using cash or crypto. I do believe that we can't influence government. We can't change government, not from within, not from without. It's been tried and it's failed. What we can do, though, is set up communities that work with each other, that trade with each other, that provide to and from each other the things they need. I think this could happen. I think this could happen on a massive scale if enough people got involved in it. And we could essentially set up our own currency insofar as, while it might not be officially recognised legal tender, it could be spent within our communities. This is something I spend a lot of time thinking about, actually. We could barter, we could trade services for goods and goods for services. There are ways for us to disengage with all of this political nonsense. And that's what it is. It's nonsense. Everything that has happened over the last, say, 3 decades, and the rest, of course, but mainly the last 3, has been designed to destroy us. Why do we keep playing the game, playing in the system that is destroying us? There is no way to change the system. There are too many people way beyond government level now pulling the strings.
Yeah, and they keep forcing us further and further and further into the system.
Yes.
I said to you about this yesterday. Almost every job you see at the moment, or that I see at the moment around me, is either working for the likes of Amazon and Tesco, or it's in the service industry. And it's something like an accountant or, legal clerk, that sort of thing. There's very few actual jobs which involve you either developing a useful skill or building stuff.
Yeah.
Very few. They're deliberately funneling us into stuff that will make us more and more helpless. There's pretty much. It's not there's no point to being an accountant. It's just being an accountant is great when people have money that they need to have dealt with.
Yeah.
People don't have money. The accountants are just useless. What are they going to do? They're going to inform you on the best way to move money around so you pay less tax on stuff you're not paying tax on anyway because you don't have any.
Exactly.
It's just dumb. Yeah. How many accountants would have gone out of business this year? That's another interesting question. Because
we spoke about this, didn't we? Yes, all that time training and qualifying.
Yeah, just normal people who've done things the honest way, the good way. They've gone along. They've got a good job. They've been safe and secure up until now because there's been loads of companies that have taxes to file. Suddenly, last year we were losing businesses at a rate of knots.
Yeah, ridiculous amount.
To anyone who doesn't know, you can go and look on the Gazette. There you go. I think of the name of the website or the name of the website in the paper. You can go onto the Gazette and you can put in the appropriate terms, and you will come up with all the companies that have filed for administration over the past however long you want. And you will see that for a lot of last year, many, many weeks, it was going between 80 and 200 companies a day.
The media are also saying there's going to be an amazing rush for new businesses to open. The problem is, because the system is corrupt, they've forced people to be corrupt to play the game. I think a lot of businesses would have closed last year that will reopen as new businesses to claim grant money. It's terribly unfair and it shouldn't exist, but this is the way things are. I don't want to be a part of any system that operates like that, because if the system is corrupt, every person who is a part of it, who endorses it, who supports it, openly supports it, is corrupt too. They must be. And that stuff flows down, doesn't it? Flows downhill. You cannot be a part of a system that is corrupt and expect fair treatment. By definition, you won't get it. Karen says, I pay money in because I expect the government and councils to give service. Instead, they give dictatorship. I think expecting service, fair service and fair treatment has finished. I think whatever we had prior to, say, January 2020, that's over. And we're never going to return to it. Charlie Kenwright, thank you for joining us, Charlie. He says, house prices have gone up by 35% in Liverpool, if not more. It's madness at the moment. This is interesting. Rob says, there's a recent report floating around stating 50% of all future new build housing will be for future immigration trends. I want to speak about immigration. I'm not happy that our green spaces are being, well, let's say they're important when people want to push this environmentalism. And I don't mean the genuine environmentalism. I mean this climate change nonsense. And it's so important that we protect all these green spaces. But the reality is that we are bulldozing our way through them and cementing over them in order to build housing for people that don't currently live in this country. And yet there are people on waiting lists that are, 20 years long? Mm-hmm. It's just unrealistic and unbelievable. But this is how things are, unfortunately. So, again, this is more corruption. You've got to keep that GPD growing, GDP even. I'll get it right now. You've got to keep it growing because, among other things, it creates a credit score and it allows countries to borrow money.
The other aspect of the environmental thing, keeping the green spaces green, I didn't know this until I looked into it a couple of months ago. English Heritage now have this cockamamie idea. I don't know where they've come up with this one. They want to have about 10% of all the land, all the farmland they have, they want to allow it to go fallow. That is very frightening, considering we already don't produce our own food. And if things are going to get worse, they just looking out over the backfield. I showed you a picture of that today, Joe. That backfield looks dead as hell to me. It does not look happy. Normally at this time of year, it's a nice green carpet. And it's still like just about trying to come through. And that basically speaks of all the fields around it. This year's harvest will not be good.
Do you think
Zara also points out this is to raise food prices, which is exactly what it's about. Because English Heritage own a hell of a lot of farmland. I can't remember how much of it they own. I think they own about 8% of the country's farmland. So yeah, if they own 8% of it, even if they're going to leave 5% of that to go fallow, that is a notable amount of land up and down the country, which is just being left to, do whatever. So what did you say, Joe?
Jonathan says fruit and vegetables will be the next monetary system / barter. I do agree. I think without some kind of physical alternative currency, I do believe that will be the way things are. Mm-hmm. Roy Bob, I can't put that up on the screen, but I do agree with you.
Fruit, veg, and the ability to make stuff.
Yes.
That's what we want to talk about. It's the ability to make stuff. That's something that will get people through this. And not just the sort of rubbish that you see on Etsy. I keep ragging on about this because it offends me so damn much. But those bottles that somebody had painted up, those wine bottles, and they had 4 of them and they painted the word hope on them. That's not something that's going to last. Nobody's going to buy that when times are tough. We need people who know what they're doing with electric so they can build little electrical things. I have no idea what, but just stuff.
we need the
Useful
basics to
stuff
keep
people
ticking
want.
on. Yeah, we need to cover things that we would consider essentials.
Yeah,
Like
exactly. Which is
being able to cook food is essential. Keeping a roof over your head is essential. Being able to clean yourself is essential. All these little luxury flim flam items that people are flogging online, which are way overpriced for what they are, that will come to an end. Because once people start really tightening their belts, luxuries are going to be off the table permanently. The only money they will have spare is for the things that they need, not the things that they'd like to have. Zhao says every road leads to politics, though. This is in reply to Daffyd. I don't agree. I think politics is massively influenced by society, and we could influence society in very good ways. We've never tried to before as a community, and this is something we could do. And when I mention communities, plural, what I mean is people are going to be setting up their own little communities, which are local to them. We're big fans of localism. That is your local community, your local area, and taking care of it, and then expanding out. I do think we'll start with communities, plural, but I think what we will do is end up becoming one large community. But it would be like little ripples in a pond. Eventually they'll overlap. But you've got to start somewhere. You might start with a community of 6 or 10 people in one area, inside, in one street, in one village. At the other side of the village, there might be another community. You'll come together at some point and you'll work together. Because let's be clear here, right now, the only enemy at the gates for us is the government, the tyrannists, the dictators, whatever you want to call them. These are the people who are destroying everything we care about, everything we've ever cared about. These are the people who are the biggest threat to us right now, because these are the people with power and authority to make bad things happen to good people. I very much like this idea. Snufkin says local trader tokens worked for centuries. I like that very much. Maybe that's something we could do. We've talked before as well about having something like a guild, some kind of, I guess, like our own union, where we can get our sort of vouched for tradesmen all part of this guild, so that we know who we can spend money with, who we can put business to these people, and start moving away from big companies. Like if you need a boiler to be fitted. We've talked as well about handymen, and how handymen used to be just the mainstay of every community. And they've just been pushed out. For one thing, people just haven't learned the trades. We've had a kind of a generation skip with learning your basic trades. But we've also had a breakdown of communities. Your local handyman was someone known to the community. There was trust. There was trust, and you would only let someone you trust come into your home and do these odd jobs around your home. Well, now, we all move around so much. We live with strangers. It's up to us now to make those strangers people we know. So that's really frustrating, but it's something we need to be working on now. And we keep saying this. This is preparation time. We cannot afford to waste it.
Yeah, because this is about as good as it's going to be for quite a while.
Yes. Things are
there will
definitely
probably
going to get worse.
Exactly. There will probably be a little uptick over the coming months, but that'll be it. Then it's just going to be a nice downhill path for us to take.
Yeah. Oh, Charlie says, just look at the Labour Council in Liverpool. The government are sending their people down because of the corruption. It's been going on for years. Thing is that you can even look at the Tories right now. There's loads of corruption cases ongoing. It doesn't faze them because it's a nod and a wink, isn't it? Everyone knows they do this and nobody really cares. This is all just performance for the masses.
Have you seen the latest reply, or the latest thing to come out of the Cameron lobbying scandal thing?
Go on.
I haven't actually read this, but I did see the headline, and seemingly it's basically the watchdog has looked into it and decided that all is good and they don't need to look into it anymore. They
So
just
David
came out
Cameron's
with this a couple of weeks ago.
So David Cameron's pals have investigated David Cameron and said he's done nothing wrong. Brilliant.
Exactly. Who would possibly have been able to tell that would happen? It's
Wonderful.
almost as if they're dishonest. I can't believe it. The shock.
Karen says, I bought cheap shoes, socks, underwear for later, bought food for 3 years, rice, pasta tins, etc. Growing seedlings for food, built a transportable shed for living in, minus 20 sleeping bags. Well done. That's really
Top
good.
stuff.
Very good.
That's how to do it, especially the food part.
That's really good. Zhao says, or you can stay out of the system and starve. Why would you starve? We're not talking about just disengage from the system and go it alone. We're talking about build up communities. You wouldn't starve. You'd take care of each other. And by removing yourself from the system, you'd have to start to be a bit more self-sufficient, growing your own food. Basically, everything that Karen's just mentioned, which we've been advocating for almost a year now.
Yeah, everything that Jonathan does.
Yeah, you've got to be self-sufficient. You've got to have people you can rely on. You've got to have food that you can produce yourself or food that you can store. You've got to be ready to basically exit the system when the system breaks down, and it will break down at the rate it's going. I don't know how long it's going to take. I know that people have different ideas about how long it's going to take, but the reality is there is nothing wrong with being prepared for whatever may come. Can we stop paying council tax? Oh, wouldn't that be nice?
The day we can finally stop doing that, it's going to be so pleasant. Just think how much more money we'll have if we have to stop paying that, or we can stop paying that. Be glorious.
I'm just reading through some of the comments.
Zara's gone on to say about living off grid. We didn't mention that. We simply mentioned about building up communities and starting to build and make stuff.
Yeah, we're talking about essentially communities on your doorstep. We understand that some people might have to reach further afield than their own doorstep and their own neighbours to find like-minded individuals who are also aware of the problems that are
going off grid is not really. It's not practical at a large scale. It's kind of like it does work, absolutely, obviously, but it's not the way to do this. If we do that, we're basically just abandoning stuff. We're running away to hide, and that's just kind of silly, really. Especially considering all we need to do is actually pretty damn simple. Just go and talk to people, see what's on their mind, see what's going on in their world, become friends with them, and then start kind of pushing them down the line, I suppose.
Oh, this is interesting from Tom. Thank you for this comment, Tom.
Yeah, so this is
September 2020. Boris Johnson has promised to restore to nature 30% of Britain by 2030 as he signs a biodiversity pledge for the other UN leaders. How is he going to do that?
No comment. There's definitely no connection here with anything.
I mean, wouldn't that require 30% of Britain to suddenly be free land?
Not here.
Not occupied. Yes.
All those gardens people aren't using. What a shame.
Yeah, Boris Johnson's a funny one, isn't he? He's once described himself as a walking melting pot, says Deconstruct. Zero respect for heritage. This is the thing. This is really the thing about Boris Johnson. I don't think he cares about anything but Boris Johnson. And I think This is probably something you could apply to pretty much all politicians. They're feathering their own nest. They're protecting themselves from what's coming. So what if they have to sacrifice a few million random people that they've never met? They don't care, as long as they're okay. And I think this applies to a lot of people pushing this agenda. This is the real problem that we've got, is there are too many people with the means to take from everyone else and with the means to hold those other people down while they get ahead. So it's something that we can only offset now by coming together ourselves, by working together, by protecting ourselves. And I don't think we'll ever get to the point where we're sort of wild, wild west. I don't think the government will allow that because while the chaos would suit them initially, eventually people will start to realise that there is one group who is not suffering, and it will eventually turn on them.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're looking for a lot more law and order rather than chaos. Control. That's what they want. They can't have people running the streets. That's not control.
Well, everything they've always pushed for over the past, well, forever basically, has always been about control.
Yeah.
Every now and then they lose a little bit of control, but then they soon find ways to get it back.
Oh, yes. Andrew's made a suggestion here. I'm catching up, I promise. Aim for a group of 8 people, then each of those people try and build more groups of 8 people, etc., and keep expanding.
Exactly.
Yeah, this is, word of mouth. It's really a good idea to talk about what's happening now. What's happening now? Sorry, I don't know why I said that.
Did you just typo in speech?
Oh, you did it earlier, so whatever. What's happening now? What's happening now is what people can see. These are the things to start the conversations with, not things that you have read that are extremely hard to find and very obscure. You need to talk about the things that people cannot discount or deny.
Without bigging ourselves up too much, that's one really, really valuable thing about the Tuesday streams.
Yes. I mean, these things are out in the public. It's just most of the public don't know about them. But we are using articles, mainstream media articles, to get these conversations started.
Mm-hmm.
Right, catching up on the chat. Carry on.
Oh, thank you. Dump me in the middle of nothing.
Oh, Ragnar, no, not yet. I'll let you know when I do, because it's going to be a big deal.
Are you going to film it?
It may be the subject of a stream if I don't.
Are you going to do it live on the stream?
Maybe.
Oh, we've had the men's stream. We're going to have the women's stream now.
Zhao says, not saying it won't work. It can't work, but for the masses in cities, it's going to be hell. Yes, it is. The cities are going to be. It's going to be a bloodbath because there's going to be food shortages. There's going to be rampant crime. There already is. It's going to be really terrible for people in the cities. Mm-hmm. I would genuinely say, if you can get out of them now, I would. Oh, deconstruct. This could be the title of a new stream. Maybe. Daffyd says grants are available to landowners for forestry at the moment. Oh, landowners. So again, if you've already got it, you can have some more.
I did notice the price of forestry land in Wales has gone up quite a lot.
Yeah, it's again, this is going to be the people that already have are going to get a bit more, and the people who have nothing are going to get a bit less.
Exactly. Once again, the system's designed this way, and this is why we're desperate to find little ways out of it. I was looking around, and I am definitely, as much as I joke about the shed, I'm definitely going to try and clear that out and start a proper little workshop in there. So that would mean bringing back the men's stream and all of that jazz. So we're going to start making stuff, start taking stuff apart, start working this sort of stuff out. Because I have no idea what the hell I'm doing. That's part of the fun of it. Just kind of bumbling around, producing stuff.
Are you saying that you're going to mess up so other people can learn from your mistakes?
Pretty much. And I'm going to do it live. So when I cut myself, you're all going to be able to see.
Zhao says, then why do they import millions they cannot control? Genuinely, this is what I believe happens. Aside from the economic arguments for mass migration, for companies taking advantage of low wages, supply and demand and all that, I think that the government knew their time was coming. I think the government knew that people who had lived in the West had started to notice the smell of corruption, the stink of it everywhere they looked, and that their time was coming when all eyes would be focused on governments. What better way to distract people from the government shenanigans than by giving them something else to worry about? I don't think the government cares that they can't control people who are breaking into our country. These people are not a problem for them, they're a problem for us, and that suits them just fine.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, well yeah, the Hong Kong thing as well. They're really going out of their way to make it easy for these people to come over from Hong Kong. And while I don't hold anything against them personally, they must be aware of the problems that we're having in this country. In fact, they're probably leaving China because it's so oppressive and tyrannical. They're in for a shock when they arrive in Britain.
Irony of ironies.
Karen says the Great Divide is already here. Won't mention the word. At the most, 10% can be persuaded. Family members fighting each other. Friends gone. On the alert for traitors. Face it, it's interesting. Yes, it is. These are very interesting times. I know. I have personally spoken to a lot of people who have tragically, probably permanently, fallen out with members of their family. And I don't think that these relationships can be repaired, and that's incredibly sad. But your options are to either give up or keep on trucking. And unfortunately, it might mean adopting a new family, which is your community, and hoping that your family come around.
I think eventually a lot of them can be repaired, because at the end of the day, we're right.
Well,
without being that sort of way, like at the end of the day, we are on the correct side of this.
Well, yes, we're on
They're
the
the
side
ones
of
who are
truth.
completely wrong. Eventually, reality is going to slap them in the face with whatever it is they're denying, and they're going to realise, wait a minute, that person I fell out with, they were right. Damn. Now I need to go and say something.
Exactly. I mean, look, not to blow our own trumpet, but everyone is here because they understand what's going on and they're on the side of truth and reality.
Mm-hmm. And because they're trying to do something about it.
Yeah, and because they're trying to be proactive and protect themselves and their loved ones from what's coming. I think even if people won't take your word for it, and they shouldn't, by the way, they should just do their own research. But even if people won't believe us now, they soon will. They'll soon see with their own two eyes that the things we know are going to happen will happen. And once they see it, once they can no longer deny it, they will come around. I just hope it's not too late for them when that happens. Tom Peace mentioned something interesting. Sounds a bit like Hunger Games scenario. We'd need high-speed trains to go between the mega metropolises, and they have no plans for that, so we're okay. Except, what's HS2 connecting? Can't recall off the top of my head. Because despite all the costs and the delays, isn't HS2 still going ahead?
Yes, it is. If I remember rightly, isn't it connecting Manchester, Birmingham and London?
Big cities, big global population centres. No? Just saying. Yes, Will says they know if things get out of hand, the globalists can hole up in their gated fortress. If it gets too bad, they can run to the Caribbean. They can probably go and join the Clintons in Haiti, can't they? Oh, Hasdak. I fell out with my boomer dad. We've just got to remember that brainwashing is effective, okay? And you should never really, give someone a hard time, because if they're only being fed one set of information, it's constantly being reinforced. It's powerful. All I can say is try not to have those kind of I can never take that back kind of discussion with your family. And hope that things will turn around in the future. It's easy to say, I know, but
it is incredibly frustrating when dealing with that sort of person.
Yeah.
Incredibly annoying.
No matter what a name. Our people can live together very well and get on with things. If we have to, we can live in the same houses and communities. I would very much like to think that if things got really bad, we would have safe houses or halfway houses or something that we could set up as communities to help out our fellow citizens when they're trapped or stuck or starving or something. We don't need a welfare state. We don't need big government to take care of each other. We've always done this. Always. It's only after we started getting complacent and letting the state take over that they've been given the power and the opportunity to let us down big time. We need to stop this way of thinking right now. If you don't rely on them, they can't let you down. We've got to stop. Our success or our failure should depend on us and us alone. And it's up to us to step up now and help each other, raise each other up. Because again, we have one enemy right now, and that enemy is sitting in our parliaments and our governments, and they are destroying everything we've ever cared about.
Yeah, we can deal with everything else after.
Exactly.
So there's one major issue at the moment. Let's get that one dealt with, and then everything else can be dealt with as well.
Yeah.
So that is the first major thing.
Exactly. If we don't survive 2023, nothing else matters.
Exactly. Which is why Joe and I bang on about the economic changes so much.
Yes.
It is, we need to find a way to safeguard ourselves, and this is it. It's finding ways to work for ourselves. Because then if we're working for ourselves, first off, we as individuals are secure, but then we can start employing other people. So when large companies like Amazon and what have you bring in mandatory vaccinations or passport COVIDs and all of that nonsense, if we're not doing it,
people are going to come to us.
Exactly.
Ragnar says Viking lodges for all. Don't even get Jordan started on his longhouses.
I have heard about longhouses for ages.
Yes.
I want a longhouse.
It's a future we can dream of. Good evening, Eddie. Long time no speak. Hope you're well.
Indeed.
Deconstruct. I won't put that up on the screen, but I concur. They go to New Zealand, says Johnny Depp. That's where all the wealthy and elites have been building their bunkers and all.
I just saw I just saw that comment. I love it. I don't disagree.
Yeah, sorry, I just couldn't put it up on the screen. Right, we're gonna stop very briefly because Nick is starting, I believe, at 8:30, and we kind of had an arrangement because we normally pre-record these. So I'm going to read the last couple of comments, and then we're going to shut it down for the evening. So let's have a look. So Zhao says, the response to a government that despises its natives is not less government. It's better government that puts the folk ahead of the international financiers, grasping kosher hands. Well, first of all, again, the system is bigger than the government. I don't think a lot of people are grasping this, that our government are puppets of this bigger system. You can't replace the government. You'd have to replace the whole thing. They are many and we are few. They have all the power, all the money, all the authority. How on earth are we going to replace it or improve it? Do you think they'd let us? We've talked about nothing but this for almost a year, I promise you. There is no way to infiltrate. There is no way to improve it. There is no way to replace it because it was designed for them. It was always designed to hold us down. There is no way someone like us will ever get into government and change it for the better. It would not be tolerated. Why even bother trying? Many have tried before and they've failed. Their careers have been destroyed or they've suddenly disappeared. There is no point even going down this road. If we waste all our energy trying to think of a way to infiltrate, we are not doing anything to protect ourselves from what is going to happen regardless. I'm afraid that's just the way things are.
I really should look up who came out with my favourite quote. So if you think you can change the government, go and infiltrate the mob and get them to sell cookies.
Yeah, if the mob start selling cookies, I might feel a bit kinder towards the mob. I'm just saying.
To be fair, I'd feel a bit towards the mob than the police anyway, because at least the mob are honest.
Well, that's true. Yeah, they don't pretend to be something they're not. I mean, they're evil scumbags and they admit it.
They also dress nicely.
They do. Fair play.
Like coppers in their little fluorescent yellow jackets. They look like walking bananas. It's weird.
Richard the Lionheart says, welfare state has destroyed our people and took away our incentives. I'm still waiting for nationalists to set up real-world communities, but without wealth and leadership, it seems so far away. I think the incentives you have in your life are those you make yourself. Your purpose in life is a purpose you create, and we all have the ability to create that purpose. We do not need to wait for anyone else to do it for us.
Agree.
If you want a community, go out and talk to people and create it. It's really that simple.
It's why it's so incredibly frustrating that it is the system that we're currently living under has been geared so heavily towards making sure we aren't able to act upon our own incentives.
Yeah,
The
absolutely.
fact that there's a little lump of land, I saw Jonathan talking about this earlier on, and it kind of made me laugh a little. There is a tiny little lump of land, very, very close to me, like probably 15 minutes walking distance.
A lump. Can you
Well,
give us an idea of
Okay,
what
this
size
lump
it is?
of land is 3/4 of an acre, and it is being sold for over £1 million.
Wow.
Now I know what you're thinking. Oh, a little over an acre being sold for £1 million. Where is this? Central London? No. You kind, misguided fool that you must be to believe such a thing. It is a goddamn car park, literally.
So what is it made of gold?
It is a car park on the edge of a village. The reason for it to be so expensive is beyond me. It is the most mind-blowing price I've ever seen for a property since I saw that tiny little patch in Aldgate was sold for like £750 million a couple of years ago, or about 10 years ago now at this stage. Just unreal money.
Well, this is another way they're holding us down, because the reality is there is a land grab going on right now. Every property, every piece of land that is free and available is being bought up by people with money. The people, by the way, who have always had money, and the people who have always fought to protect their money by stopping people like us being competition for them. We're not going to be able to go out and buy up plots of land. That dream was over probably last year. They had already planned it. The reality is we're a bit too late with some of these ideas, which is frustrating as hell. The good news, though, is that for those people without the money to do something like this is what the ward system is about. This is why we keep talking about building up your ward, having this warden mindset. Jonathan is a really, really good example of this. He has made himself a useful asset to his community, and he talks to people all the time. He's constantly busy networking with people. He's talking to business owners, he's talking to his neighbours, and he has got this group of people to come together who all agree that what the government is doing is sinister and heinous and harmful, and they are going to stand for each other when push comes to shove. This is what we must all be doing. It doesn't cost a penny to go and talk to your neighbours or to network with a group that is local to you. If you don't have a group that's local to you, what good is it? What good is it if they've got to spend 3 hours on the road to get to you in an emergency? This is why we keep talking about the local way, localism. If you can have this kind of really tight-knit community right on your doorstep, and you are all helping each other and raising each other up and sharing the skills that you have and sharing the food that you have, or the ability to grow the food that you have, and you're networking with other groups and you're building this, can you imagine this network across the whole country of a community here and a community there, and you're trading goods and you're trading services? It can be done. It's always been done in the past. This is how tribes and clans started. They're all
This
a
is how
single
merchants
family.
formed.
Yeah.
You look back at the sort of thing our ancestors were doing, and you look at something like the Hanseatic League and how incredibly complicated that was, considering they were trading goods and items across many, many different nations, many different ports. It's incredible what they was able to do.
Yeah.
They were able to do it. We sure as hell are as well.
Of course. We've got all the benefits and opportunities they didn't have. We've got education. We've got access to things that they wouldn't have dreamed were possible.
We have YouTube. If nothing else, we have YouTube. We have the ability to go on and watch somebody do something and then give it a go ourselves. And it may not work out wonderfully at first, but we can do it. And that's a mention. That's basically what the mentoring was about, what it will be about in the future. It is about me going out of my way, finding out how to do something, and then doing it with you guys and showing how it's done. And then we can build on this idea. We can get stuff going. Like Andrew with his leatherworking. Wonderful.
Absolutely. I think this is more about changing mindsets. I think we've become very complacent. Even now, I still catch myself thinking of things the old way. These people want to inflict a new normal on us. I say let's embrace it. Let's make it our normal. Let's make life the way we want it to be. We don't have to go out big and bold and loud and challenge these things. Just quietly build up your network, build up your community, start working with people who are willing and able to exchange skills with you, who have a skill that you want to learn, or who wants to learn a skill you have. This
John
doesn't
Enoch
have
Power is
to
a
be.
wonderful example of this.
Yes,
He taught his lead welding mate. He taught him how to do some MIG welding, and in return, he got to mess around with lead for a while. Learn
yeah.
how to do that. That's perfect. Absolutely perfect. We can then expand upon that. Or that attitude, rather.
I think the attitude is more important at the moment than the ability.
Agreed.
Because if you have zero skills, but you are absolutely adamant that you are going to do this, and if you are committed to it, you can learn the skills. You can learn the skills. Okay, the only thing stopping you doing that is you. If you've got the skills, but you haven't got the attitude to make it work, then no amount of skills are going to save you. And it really is that simple. We've got to be prepared to get up and do something now. We can't sit here hoping someone else will come and fix all of this. There is no one. That person everyone's waiting for doesn't exist. Not one person can fix this. There's going to have to be an effort from all of us. Because if we don't all step up and come together and get together and make this happen, it's not going to happen. Charlie says, we need to come together to make money. You're going nowhere until you get some money behind your group. Simple. I don't agree. I mean, of course, yes, we all want to make money, but I don't believe that money necessarily is the answer here. Insofar as when you're talking about your local community, you don't need money to get people on board. You just need to have a skill. You have to be an asset to your community. You have to have something your community needs. And I think that's the important thing. And I really don't want people to be focused so much on money, because what that means is that those who have no money and no other option, it means it's over for them. There's no point, right? If money is the difference between us succeeding and failing, and most of the people in this country are working class or poor, it's over. I refuse to accept that. Poor people have always strived and succeeded because of their mindset, because of their willingness to work and work damn hard. I still believe that if you have a good idea and you're willing to work hard, you can make it. I refuse to believe anything else. And I think this veneration of money is what's leading us down the wrong path. Yes, money can buy things that you need, but it's just a tool like any other. If there were no builders around and you had a truckload of money and you needed to build a house, how would that money help you? You'd need the skills to build that house. The money wouldn't help you. It's not the only thing. It's just not the only thing. And I feel that we've moved so far away from what's important that money has become this be-all and end-all, the difference between success and failure. And I hate it.
Ironically, we've moved away from us.
Yeah.
Our culture has never been revolving around money. Just hasn't been.
This is what they want, by the way, this focus on money.
Money's also just the easy way out. Like, I don't have any skills. What can I do? I know I can get money and make money do things for me.
Yeah, but again, money is a tool. It can be a useful tool, but it's not the only thing. It's not the thing we should be aiming for. You know the old sort of cliched sayings. I'm rich because I have a loving husband and children. You don't need wealth to be rich. You need to be you just need to be in a community where you're loved and respected. I would rather be surrounded by good people with no money than be surrounded by basically assholes with loads of money. Money does not make you a good person, and money does not necessarily mean that you will be successful
Nor safe.
nor safe.
They're definitely not safe, because when things do start to go wrong, suddenly people with money become targets. Take a look at Venezuela.
Charlie says, why have the left taken off and taken over literally? Because they have money. I disagree. I disagree that it's just about the money. When they did what they did, we're talking about the Long March now, they did it with zero pushback and challenge.
Mm-hmm. It's very easy to take over a system when nobody fights back.
Exactly. We didn't push back because we were naive. We didn't realise, we couldn't comprehend that people could be so evil and nasty to want to deliberately destroy other people. Now, we've learned the hard way. If the left were to do a long march now through institutions that were apolitical, they'd get a hell of a lot more of a fight than they got the first time round. So anyway, yeah, I don't think money is the issue. I know it can help, but I don't think having no money is necessarily going to stop you.
Mm-hmm. I think Will has a good take on this. I think money helps, but it's more about infrastructure. I think the money came second after they entrenched themselves.
David thinks lack of money is one of the ways we're boxed in. English Bird says, we got used to living for money, not living for community. I agree. I think money has replaced a hell of a lot of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we will need money. I mean, when you talk about money, to make money, yes, but that's work. Money is just the tool. Having purpose, having a job, using your trade to make life better for people, using your trade to improve life for yourself, using your life skills, protecting your family, none of those things require money. Just the will to do it, the will to succeed. I'm not saying money doesn't help. Of course not. I'm just saying there must be hope for people with no money. We can't just...
Yeah, because then effectively you're throwing away like 90% of the population.
Exactly.
You're throwing away basically everyone, saying, you're poor, you're not getting anywhere.
And I don't want to get to this point where we've got these communities set up that start to become one large community, and we're turning people away because they don't have any monetary value. It's kind of an evil mindset to place so much importance on money. Money helps you to do things. Money, the way I see money is this: it's convenient. It's a cheat.
Money greases will.
Yeah, it's a time saver. Money gets you things quicker, and maybe gets you more things. But you could still do those things without money. You just have to work a bit harder. Try a bit more. Put in more time. I really do not want people to think that money is the answer to our problems. It just isn't. In fact, money arguably is the cause of many of them. This veneration of money. Wallet is rather dusty these days, says Roy Bob. Yeah, well, a lot of people will feel exactly the same way. And we cannot take away hope from people who don't have money. Jonathan says, money doesn't mean anything anymore. I'm not building my community on money. It's based on high-end sharing and supporting one another. Well said. Roy Bob says, I've got 5 GDP to my name, been in my wallet for a while. You're running on the spot. I don't agree, Charlie. You're just running uphill for a bit longer. Look, I'm saying those with money, sure, use it. I refuse to believe that only the people with money are going to succeed here. Because as Jordan says, that means we're throwing away 90% of our populations.
There is the other aspect of this as well. Those with money are more than able to go and do their own thing.
Well, yes.
Those without money, i.e. Joe and I, we have to do a different thing. we
are
need
going
to
to be
we need to
heavily
work.
relying on their communities. Of course they
Exactly,
will.
we have to work out different ways to acquire safety. So no, our approach is not going to be perfect for certain people. At the end of the day, if somebody's sitting on a couple of million quid, telling them, hey, why don't you work out a craft? It's not really applicable to them. That's not a reasonable thing for that person to do. There'd be many, many better ways they can utilize what they have. Just we're trying to utilize what we have, which is basically effort, because we don't have bugger all else.
The problem is
Unlike
as
most
well.
streams, we don't take money. So we don't, and the reason we don't take money is because we don't have money, and because we know that the people who typically donate money typically don't have any themselves, and they are just desperately trying to help someone with what little they have, which is
But they're
why
trying to.
we completely reject this notion that you require money to do anything.
Yeah, this is the point, I think. When we made a decision not to take donations, and just in case anyone pulls us up on the lemons, yeah, we give those all back. So we still feel that there's this element that people think someone is going to save us. It's not going to happen. We must save ourselves. Zhao says, I'm off to Lidl's. I hope they don't ask for money. Well, maybe you could grow or make the thing that you're going to Lidl to buy. Just saying. Agree, Will. Yeah, of course. Becoming self-sufficient actually means you can earn money. Earn it. Of course you can. Of course you still need money for some things. Nobody is alive today in the West without money. Of course they're not. What we're saying is, though, we seem to have this idea, this importance of money, because we have to buy everything we need, or because we've become used to buying everything we need. If we were producing these things ourselves and bartering skills and goods, we wouldn't actually need money. It's just the tool that we use as a currency, as a rate of exchange. It could be peas or carrots or anything. Name anything. We could exchange wheelbarrows if that was the thing that we place value on. Aramis says, I like the idea of community support so much better. One of the best feelings I've ever had was when I gave my friend a basket of vegetables that I'd grown. Well done, Aramis.
Heck yeah, that's what we're
Really
on about.
well done.
And that person will remember that. They'll remember that you gave them vegetables, and they'll remember that you grew them and all the rest that went with it.
Yeah, that cliched saying, it's the thought that counts. It really is. Everyone knows that it means so much more when somebody actually makes something for you rather than buy something for you, because they've invested a lot of time and effort into that thing that they've given you. It's not just an afterthought. Oh, I'll just click a button on Amazon and it arrives the next day. Will says, I think the average or working class person may not have much money, but they have the means to prosper if given an opportunity. On a farm or in a factory, people can produce wealth. Yes, they can. Of course they can. But for those who don't have those opportunities, we can't write them off. We just can't do it. We're not talking about zero money. We're talking about money not being the only means of success, just to clarify the point. I disagree, Charlie, but we can agree to disagree. Respect for your opinion. That's the power of love. Very good. Oh, look, the jokes are starting up again. I have little time for supermarkets. Well done, Michael. Oh, we know, Ragnar. We know you do. So what farmer is going to do that? Well, again, it depends. If you're talking about buying food, why would you buy it instead of grow it?
You can certainly supplement what you buy. There's no reason to be buying absolutely everything if you have a garden. You may not be able to grow terribly much, but you can at least supplement stuff. Yeah. And then what can you do with the rest of your time and abilities?
Swap
as I said, it's like, as I said, Andrew's getting into leather crafting. I want to start getting into some stuff. There's plenty of opportunities out there. We just need to work them out. That's basically all it comes down to.
Yeah, exactly. The thing is, as Jordan said, it depends on your setup, it depends on your location. But the reality is, it costs a couple of pounds to buy a packet of seeds, and if you take good advice and if you do if you do things properly, you will have seeds for the rest of your life. You can trade those out with your neighbours. You can trade food with your neighbours. If you have a surplus of tomatoes or carrots or potatoes one year, and your neighbour has something else you want, you can swap them. Yes, of course, it's going to be difficult for everyone to become completely self-sufficient. As individuals, nigh on impossible. But as communities, I think we'll be closer than we will ever be under any other system. And this is why we're talking about communities. I think we're still focused on the individual when it comes to money. English Bird says talk doesn't cost money. Getting people on board costs nothing if they're local to you, not even the cost of travel. You could just walk round. Yeah, that's a good point, Roy Bob. Yes. Seasons 2. Johnny Depp, I'm not putting that up on the... yeah,
I've got a really weird glitch, and nobody else can see this, but English Bird, your tea monkey has grown enormous on my screen.
Oh, wow.
They're normally sort of things only like 10 pixels wide. This one's about 60. Restream is being weird today.
With regard to the seasons comment, I just want to say, if you watch our gardening stream, which is every other Thursday, there are ways to keep some of your vegetables perfectly safe and edible throughout winter. Maybe Jonathan is the person to ask for that, but it can be done. It definitely can be done. There are ways to grow food indoors. There are ways around things that don't cost a fortune that probably most people could afford if they want to invest in that time and money full time. Housewife didn't bring money to the table, says Tom. She bought so much more. Right, we really do need to wrap up now. High value mushrooms, says Roy Bob. 42 says, if you focus on reducing your outgoings, increasing your income becomes less important. Your outgoings are 100% within your control. Income is not. Well said. Do the Amish use money? I've no idea, Tom, actually. I'm assuming they do.
So, yes.
Andrew says, money opens doors and therefore gives you options. However, you have to work with what you have available. Community is important for everyone, especially those with very modest means. Charlie says, look, to get this thing started, you need land and you need money to buy that land. Come on, your way will take... Oh, sorry, come on. Your way will take years and years and the fight is over by then. What if all these communities existed already?
The best time to plant a tree is yesterday, or 20 years ago. The second best time is today. Just, at the end of the day, I've already said, we don't have anything. All we have is effort. We don't have money. Nor do we take money. So, plenty of streams out there who take money. Plenty of various ways that you can get what you want with money. We don't have it.
Thing is, we can't magically produce it.
Yeah, exactly, and we're not appealing for that. It's very simple. Very simple, to be honest. We're doing what we can with what we have.
We need to teach people to be self-sufficient and to be productive. If we tell people that money is the answer, they're going to stop trying.
It's not just that, but it's basically like saying, why are you poor, forehead? Do better. Do rich. Like, no, yeah. That's not reality. We don't live in reality. Get money. Okay. How? Send us money. And, like everybody else, send us money and we'll do something. We'll go buy a heck of a lot of Coke, put it up our nose and all will be good. That's what ultimately,
sending money... have you any of you in this chat donated to anyone who's actually done something for you personally? Have they improved your life? Have they changed something? Have they fundamentally made life better for you? Is it even possible?
I had a joke and I forgot his damn name. Who's the BBC kiddie fiddler? Jimmy Savile. God damn it.
How could you forget his name?
I don't know. I was going to make a joke about sending him money and changing lives. That would have been too much.
Right, so I'm going to quickly run through the rest of these chats. Microgreens says Romewood is the best indoor grow. And no, Andrew will agree with that. He loves his microgreens. David, we will not forget. We're going to have a really great show lined up for tomorrow. We're going to be looking at old TV ads, the good old days when people were not afraid to just talk about reality. Wonderful. Roy Bob says, look for unregistered land. Can't speak now. It's yours for free. Karen says,
It's
keep
worth a
plastic
try.
bottles.
There's nothing
It
wrong with
is.
doing that sort of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Karen says, keep plastic bottles, keep brown paper bags, pallets, nails, string, plastic trays and punnets. I would suggest if you've got the space to store everything you might need in the future, keep it. Just stay off mine, says Roy Bob. Is yours unregistered? English Bird says, land means nothing when the government can just take it. Anyone thinking otherwise is a fool. Community keeps people safe. Well, this was one of the other things we wanted to get to, and we've been saying this since forever. It doesn't matter if you have land and gates and security and fences. If the government wants to take that land from you, they will take them. And if you're on this land all by yourself, just enjoying all the space you've got, there is no one to back you up.
Look at Waker and Bundy's Ranch. Admittedly, Bundy's Ranch was kind of one of the rare exceptions, but there's various other things that you can point out.
The thing is, there are two ways of doing this, right? We could all pool our resources and buy some land, and we'd stick out like a sore thumb, and everyone would know who we are, where we are, and what we're doing, including the government. Or we can set up doorstep communities, which means we are everywhere. Mm-hmm. Just like with a stand in the park, just like with any other online sort of resistance protest or whatever you want to call it. If you organise in one place, that's one place everyone can converge and get you. If you are everywhere, you're splitting them up. You are dividing them because now they have to be everywhere. Safety first, always. Safety is numbers. We need numbers. It will be people who make things right, not money. I genuinely believe that. Money may speed things up, but money doesn't give us people. What good is, let's say between us we all pooled our resources. Well, I say 100 people, we managed to raise enough money to buy some land. Then what? Oh, so we can raise some animals, we can grow some crops, build some homes, if we've got the skills between us. Otherwise, we're going to have to pay someone else to come and do those things for us. Then what? We'd lose our jobs because we've gone public with it. We have to work for ourselves, but we've got a tiny little 100 people community. No one else will touch us because the media and the government will call us extremists or nutters or conspiracy theorists or tin-foil hat-wearing maniacs. Then what? We need this to be a nationwide revolution. We need everyone to get on board with this. We're not coming for your land, Roy Bob, I promise.
Going to come and we're going to grow some parsnips on it. Don't send Jonathan there. He grows some bloody beetroot or some god-awful, mangy, dirt-tasting plant like that. Can't even think of anything equally bad, to be honest with you.
That's very kind of you to say, Will. Much appreciated. We hope we provide value. We hope that we give people things to think about and to ponder. And we hope that we inspire people to do something. Right, let's have a look. I'm just quickly running through the chat. We really are going to wrap up now, I promise. I don't think it's a case of doing nothing if you think it's going to be taken. I'm just saying safety is people. We need people, lots of people. The problem is when people buy land, unless you go in exactly the same, unfortunately, that someone's going to decide that they're owed a bit more of that land than someone else. It just gets messy. But again, everyone has an opinion, and I respect all opinions. You do you. You do what you think is right, and hopefully you will build your community around your land if that's the way you're going to do it. We can't leave behind those who don't have that opportunity, unfortunately. Johnny Not Pal, there you go. Johnny Not Pal has a few quid. Let's buy some land. Go for it. Fantastic. Right.
Anyway, tomorrow we are doing fun night.
Good night, Charlie. Take care. Yes, tomorrow is fun night indeed. Tomorrow is going to be a little trip down memory lane for many people, I think. And I think it's going to be hopefully very enjoyable. Hopefully we'll surprise some of you. Hopefully there will be people, familiar faces that you'll see in some of these adverts, and hopefully they'll put a smile on your face, especially if these are from your childhood. So I would really, really like to see if anyone has any other suggestions. I would really, really like to see some of those suggestions on the Discord. If you would like to have a particular advert mentioned, we're going to do our very best to find quite a few to get us started, but it will essentially be a request night because we won't think of everything. So I hope that you will join us. I hope that you will have great ideas for videos we can have a look at. If you want to drop some links, we'd much appreciate it. You can do that also on the D Live if you're not on the Discord. Even while we're offline, we still see the chat. So yeah, it's going to be a very good night. We're going to have a lot of fun. Genuinely looking forward to this. So we hope we will see you all tomorrow at 7:30.
Indeed.
And on that note, we will say have a very good evening all, and be safe. We'll see you tomorrow. Take care for now.